So obviously with everything going on, everybody is scrambling to get everything set in place so that they can start live streaming services, do conference calls, and all that other fun stuff. But in this video, I want to talk with you to where we set up a game plan for the future instead of just focusing on now, because when this ends, there's some things that need to be put in place ASAP. Hey folks, AJ the CEO here. If this is your first time stopping by the channel, thanks for stopping by. And on this channel, we focus on tips, training, strategies, reviews, and builds to help modernize your media ministry. So if you're new here, consider subscribing. And I think that's the very first thing. So pretty much everything that's going on, we have to make sure that we're not just focused on the now, but we're preparing for our future. Because I think a lot of churches got caught with their pants down because they didn't have anything in place. And now they're scrambling, blowing up Amazon, Best Buy, and all these other platforms to try and order this stuff. But that's what everybody is doing. And it just shows how unprepared everybody is. So what I want to do is go through about 10 things that I think need to be put in place as a plan moving forward, that as soon as stock is available, you start getting this stuff ready. And this is obviously including my church, which I'm here right now trying to get prepped for pre-recording my pastor or just live streaming with just one person. But there's a lot of things that need to be put in place, and I want to run this through with y'all, and hopefully this will help get you prepared. Some of the stuff you can get now if you haven't gotten it already, but there's some other stuff you need to put in place as soon as you possibly can, and hopefully when the prices drop, instead of them bumping up the prices 2 and 3 times higher than it needs to be. So I have notes today, so I make sure I'm on task. All right, so number one is you need to have a website if you don't have one already. This is going to tie into some other things, but you need a centralized hub for your church. I'm not talking about social media, because as you have seen with some platforms like Facebook and stuff like that, they were not prepared themselves to handle the influx of people hitting their systems all at the same time. I'm experiencing live streaming issues here, experiencing YouTube issues. Everybody's having something. So, but if you have your own website, that is, yes, that's going to be under your provider, but most of the time they're way more prepared, and it's not as intense to handle a website as it is to have billions of people hitting Facebook, YouTube, and other platforms like that. You need to get a website. You need to. There's a link in the description that I use Bluehost personally. Great service, very cheap and affordable for a year compared to what we used to pay for before. Again, link is in the description for that. But again, there are tons of other places. So you don't necessarily have to use Bluehost. You just need a website. And I'm talking about a modern one, not one that you did 15 years ago, 10 years ago, and you haven't touched. You need something modern, so that first, it's no point in putting this stuff in place if you're just going to put a Band-Aid on a broken leg. This is the opportunity that where you need to invest in this stuff. Now, I'm not talking about blowing millions, but don't go at this cheap. You need to prepare and get a good website. Number 2 is, if you haven't already, sign up for every form of social media. Now, again, I know I was just talking about your website, but you need social media because that's where everybody is. The idea is, yes, you can reach them on social media. You can send out messages way faster than having the heads of ministries call everybody. It's going to be way faster if you post stuff on social media and it can get there. That's the whole point of it. But at the same time, accenting what we just talked about, your website, on social media, you should be always pointing everybody back to your website. Because if Facebook went down, if Twitter went down, you want everybody to be accustomed. You're developing a habit for them to go to your website to know that they can get that information. Yes, Facebook and all the other social media is great, but you need to let people know, just like the reason why we have a website in place is if everything else fails, this is a contingency plan of a contingency plan. So yes, be on social media, be on all of them, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, all of them. Be on all of them. But on those platforms, always reference back to your website so people can know, oh, if Facebook is down, at least I know I can go to our website and everything will be there. Number 3 is sign up for a free conference call number. This is very beneficial to where when you're getting points to where everybody doesn't have, cameras and all this other stuff to live stream and watch stuff at home, or if you just have issues with want to communicating to your leadership, it's easy to set up a free conference call, and then that number is set up for emergencies, as well as it can easily be done into a telephone Bible study or whatever. Again, with this plan is trying to get everything set up for contingencies in case anything happens when something like this does not happen. Yes, you can communicate everything, but it's a good way that your pastor can get on a conference call, send that number out, and then everybody can get on there that way, or video. Again, my mindset is not just go just with live streaming or just website. My whole thing is get all of it. And then that way, if anything fails, you can always roll over to something else. Free conference call is the one that I use. I actually have it set up here for my media ministry when we needed to communicate and we didn't have meetings in place. I have that number here, and I'm going to be talking to my church about establishing one for the church as a whole as well. Another thing is, and I talked about this in this video up here, is you need to have contingency plans for your live stream. Like I said, Facebook is getting hit hard with everybody live streaming all of a sudden. YouTube is getting hit. Zoom is getting hit. Twitch is getting hit. All of these platforms are getting hit. And the idea is you should sign up for as many platforms as you possibly can. Now, again, I'm talking about free ones, but again, if you have the money for it, I would recommend you get Vimeo as well too. Yes, they cost, but again, Vimeo doesn't have as much traffic as YouTube, and they're built with Livestream, who was doing all this stuff from the very beginning, and they have, I mean, again, I don't work behind the scenes, but I know we live stream to Vimeo, and then Vimeo rebroadcast to Facebook Live, and last Sunday, Facebook was stuttering, but Vimeo wasn't. So again, we have contingencies in place, and if Vimeo failed, we can roll over to YouTube. If YouTube failed, we can roll over to Facebook. If Facebook fails, we can roll over to Twitch. If Twitch fails, we can roll over to YouNow. We have at least 7 to 10 contingencies to roll over for. So again, you need to set that up and just have those in place just in case. You need to get some live streaming hardware. I'm not talking about the ones that people have had to get right now just to get by. This is one of those moments, as somebody who talks about tech, trying to get money for church and everything like that, this should be the easiest time to convince leadership, trustees, whoever in your church to invest in this type of equipment. I have tons of links that you can use for kind of budget bills all the way up to big bills that I've done in other churches. But if you need to contact me or anybody else that does this stuff, this is the time that you need to start planning to have this stuff invested in place. Like I have a couple of churches I need to work that I'm talking to right now that they've contacted me to set up the actual in-place live streaming hardware, because now is the time, and they're realizing, man, we should have had this in place. And that's what I really recommend. I'm probably going to do another video later today where I'm actually walking you through what I'm actually going to be setting up for this other church, because they don't have anything except for just a camera in the back. So we're going to be doing a whole planning session on what I'm going to put in place. So you need to go ahead and invest in putting this stuff in place. Again, I'm not talking about sinking millions or hundreds of thousands of dollars, but you need something, and not just the stuff that you can get from Best Buy. You need to, if you're going to do it professionally. Let it be done to where you're not just pulling a webcam and putting it up here. Now, again, I'm not knocking you if that's your budget. I'm not saying that at all. The thing is, put in quality when you have a chance, so that you have that to fall back on instead of having to buy the stuff that's available because stuff is not in stock. Now, with that being said, you also should invest in a portable version of that, because again, I'm in Virginia, and it's pretty much like stay at home except for essential stuff. Churches you can't have more than 10 people. And you got to think, some people can't do that at all. It is good to invest in a portable system to where you can live stream, whether it be your pastor has an updated laptop with a webcam in it so that he or she could just live stream from wherever. Not a laptop not a laptop that's 5, 6, 7, 8 years old. Something that's up to date and is reliable and can handle what needs to be handled. A good laptop with a camera, you can do Zoom, you can do all that other stuff from there. But at the same time, I've seen so many other churches have packed up their stuff and taken it to the pastor's house, do whatever to actually live stream there. You need to have a system that's in place. Like, I have my system that I take with me to high school games to record sporting events, and I can live stream with that, and that's what I've been using in multiple locations. I had a video here where I talk about that, and that works good for me. I have mics, I have everything that needs to be done to give me, my church or whoever, the ability to live stream, remotely, and have it mobile so you can do that. So that's another thing I really think you need to invest in. All right, number 7 is, I really think your church should set up and find out and identify what's considered essential staff. The days of, like, my whole thing is talking about trying to convince people and let them understand how important media ministry is. And I really hope no one is arguing about that right now, and everybody knows how important the media ministry is, because they're the ones that's able to keep this going at your church. Whether you didn't have a media ministry and you're running it, guess what? You are now a part of the media ministry of your church. But recognizing what's considered essential staff. And I'm not just talking about just the staff that runs the church. I'm talking about to be able to essential staff to keep your church running from a remote location. Like right now, I have a couple of people that I can identify anybody in our media ministry, but the fact that our media ministry, we only need 2 people, and actually we can do it with 1 person, but 2 people that can run everything if needs to be done here locally, or if we have to do it mobilely, it can be done. You need to identify those people so that you have a staff in place, as well as you really need to have meetings in place so that everybody knows a strategy on what to do if something happens. That's just my recommendation from that. Now, tied into that, number 8, I would say, out of that staff, it could be them, it could be somebody else, you really, really need to identify people and leaders that will treat your live stream just like it is your congregation is on your live stream, the same way as your congregation here in your church. And I know I talked about this in this video, but I tell you one thing, this whole thing that's going on, I hope has changed the layout of church. I've had so many people that didn't think live streaming was important. They just thought that was something that the big church is doing. And now, like I said, the reason of this video, people are recognizing how essential it is. And when we get back to normal, your live stream needs to stay in place. I would hope you didn't just do this live stream and then you're going to go blind back into it like, oh, everything's back to normal, forget the live stream, it's not important. No, you need to take the same seriousness inside of your church, or especially what you're doing now with your live stream, and you need to continue that. And you need to have people in place, have prayer warriors that are watching, chatting with people if they need prayer online. You need to keep stuff in place so that you can communicate and treat everybody in your live stream the exact same way. If you're doing a contemporary live stream, you're live streaming Wednesdays, Tuesdays, or whatever else because of the fact that we've had to stay at home, continue that. Just don't stop that. This isn't just meant to be, again, a Band-Aid on a broken leg. This is showing how much more the church could do and just how more effective your media ministry is. That's the reason I talk about media ministry is actually an e-missionary, because they can go out and reach and spread the message more than just physically being inside here. All right, number 9, you need to set up online giving in some way, shape, or form. We were using Vanco. I recommended that we use Cash App, and we had some issues with that, but now everybody's getting on board with that. And my whole mindset is, don't just pigeonhole everybody into a certain path. Like, there's so many people who were like, I'm not doing online giving. You need to come into the temple. You need to go ahead and come into the church. You need to hand in your tithes and offerings, put it in the basket, throw it down the aisleway like it's a frisbee and hit the person, your neighbor, in the head with it. I mean, all that other stuff. The idea, my mindset is cast a net. I don't care if you pay tithes and offerings and you hand it in, you put it in an envelope and you put it inside of the box, the offering plate. I don't care if you're paying it online. I think, just like my brother-in-law said, you go to fast food restaurants, you have a choice. And when it comes to ways to give, I think it's beneficial for the church to give our congregants, our guests, as many options as possible. Because no matter how they give, it's coming into the church's accounts to handle the finances of the church, pay the bills. So who cares if somebody hands it to you or you get it digitally? It's going to show up in the account. So what's the harm? What's the harm with having an iPad with a square to where people can swipe their card and pay that way, or having Cash App, or having Givelify, Tithely, Vanco, Rebel, whichever online platform it is, PayPal, Stripe? Who cares? My whole thing is sign up for everything if you can, or at least have something in place for online giving for your church. And the last one, number 10, is you need to have training. I do as best as I can to try and train here on YouTube with my videos, but you need to, first off, send your volunteers and invest in training. I know I have a couple of courses. I have a conference that I was in the process of planning to set up, which I am still going to do, but you need to invest in training in skills that are essential. Learning how to live stream, video edit, videography, cinematography, photography, social media management, websites. All those skills are essential to keep your church up to date with what's going on. I mean, you need to invest in training. And I know I'll break all this stuff down. I try not to let this video go too long, but that's what I think is a plan that needs to be in place now. As things start to get back to as usual, where stuff is in stock and things like that, that you have a game plan in place that you can put boots on the ground and you can start knocking this stuff out. And the good thing, out of those 10 things, we have website, social media, conference call, multiple live streaming interfaces, essential staff, online church staff, online giving. Out of those 10, 7 of those you can do now. The ones of training, getting hardware, whether it be in place or portable, you can't do that right now. It's really difficult to do it right now. You could. I wouldn't advise it because you don't want to pay more than you have to. But out of those 10 things, 7 of them you can do now. And that's a good way to get prepared. Again, we do not want to get stuck with our pants down again if something like this happens. So go ahead and try and set up and establish a game plan. Take some of the stuff that I mentioned, grocery store mentality. Pick the things that suit you and leave everything on the shelf that doesn't suit you. But everybody needs to have some type of plan in place. If this happens, and if it happens again, and if it doesn't, we need to be prepared to have these things bumped up to the next level, to a level of professionalism that it deserves. Now, out of all the stuff that I talked about, check out my website, AJayhomes.com, and I have media ministry resources that I have a list of a bunch of free stuff as well as some paid items that you can use. I know I sell live streaming systems, but again, I can't get stuff in stock right now, but if you're interested, you can always, I can put a list together so you can get notified on my site if you want some stuff, and I can get something to you as soon as it's available. But I just want to make those options available to you. So anyway, if you like this type of content, I appreciate a like, consider subscribing, and hit that bell. That way you get notified when we come out with other videos to help modernize your media ministry. This is AJ. We will see you on the next video. Later.